Welcome back to Diaries of a 27-Year-Old Virgin. I'm excited that you chose to come back. And for those who are tuning in for the first time, welcome to the space. And I'll just tell you ahead of time, and you might hear this at the end of this as well. It's messy here. It's holy, but it's also mine. So I'll pick up from, if you haven't watched part 1, please go back and watch part 1 of this, because I'm picking up from there and continuing with the same conversation. I was talking about my virginity and everything around that. So yeah, I want to start with, let me read one of the most impactful things I've read. Actually, one of the most impactful books I've read. Shameless plug. Daughter, Drink This Water by Jaya John is a plug. You're free to make me your marketing person. But anywho, this is one of the most impactful things I read during this time when I was preparing for my podcast and just really figuring out what my story is. And he writes and says, if you fear your sexuality, you end up abusing it. Whether by neglect or assault, we abuse what frightens us. And this is so true to a lot of us and how we handle our sexuality. There's an uneasiness rather that we approach sex and our identity in it, that we fail to really own the parts of it that makes us who we are and be able to walk our journey shamelessly, right? You can easily abuse something that frightens you, like he said. So now I'll tell you about part of what contributed to me maintaining my virginity. It would be an injustice to skip this part because it's so significant to also how I veiled myself and how my journey of self-love actually came about. I have wrestled with not only being a virgin, but at some point, same-sex attraction. And this is something that in my community, it's not a conversation we just have, and it happened at such a delicate age that I had to sit in it for a long time before I understood what it meant for myself and how it would affect my general outlook on my sexual identity and sex overall. I was about 19 thereabout when I started realizing, I like girls too, right? But then this also wasn't something I was privy to growing up. Like I said in the first part of this, the things that you're introduced to, you don't have control over, but they can have influence on you. And you have to choose how you navigate from being exposed to certain things you have no control over. Growing up, I was not familiar with same-sex attraction until I was in a community and an age group that really, explored such things. And for me, at first, it was so foreign. It was so foreign because I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't understand how to articulate it to anybody that knew me. Because first of all, as a Christian, I shouldn't be feeling that way. This is not God's design for me, right? But then I was feeling it. So what do we do then? Because this is another reality in relation to how sexual urges are there, even if you're a virgin. So emotions and the realities of situations do not change because you have made a decision against or away from it. You will still go through the motions because that's life, right? And that's how my journey of self-love really started, but it started with rejection, rejecting myself for feeling this way, rejecting my faith to an extent because it didn't have room. It felt like this is something I should be allowed to explore, or this is something I should be allowed to figure out of the confinements of faith. But I said something as well in part one, that it's not a punishment to choose to maintain my virginity, but it's rather a preservation. And in this case, I really see the preservation in having faith in God, because He allowed me to rewrite my thoughts after His heart for me. I would want to say I relate better now with anybody struggling with any type of identity struggle, because you don't wake up choosing it. You don't wake up and you just don't know who you are anymore. It happens over time, and a few things contribute to that. And because our identity is the one thing that is central to our lives, you're very vulnerable when you don't know what to think of yourself. You're very vulnerable when you're not sure what it means to be yourself. And during the season where I was experiencing my sexual identity confusion, if I can call it that, I had to learn not to focus on choosing a sexual orientation, but simply choosing what God says about me. Because it always goes back to that. It goes back to the truth of what was said about you, the truth of what you were made and created for, no matter what is presented to you as a current reality. But it wasn't that simple. I say it now as if it was just a walk in the park. I figured out the ropes. I figured out who I am. But it was tears on some nights. It was rough, brutal conversations with friends that I'm so grateful for, that I can talk to now about these emotions. It was again learning a deeper intimacy with God. Because it's one thing to bring a version of you that you like to God, or a version of you that you understand to God, and another thing completely to bring a version of yourself that you have no idea what to do with to Him. And the beauty of God's love and consistency is that there's no part of you that He's surprised with. There's no part of you that He handles with indifference. There's no part of you that God handles with indifference. He's always interested in how you come to Him, and He's always interested in hearing you out, how you're presenting yourself. And that brought a lot of freedom for me. It brought a lot of clarity for me. I was not only worried that in the long-term framework of things, virginity is the one thing that might turn men off if I ended up in a relationship with somebody. I was also very scared that what if they found out that this is something I went through? How would they view me? How would they take it that I've had a season and a time of being attracted to women as well? And having to sit with that and come to a place where I now understand that with every part of me, there's purpose, there's reason for these experiences that I'm having. And the people that are meant to see me and love me are not moved by any of it. They will not be fazed by any part of me because they really are for me. The concern of looking perfect to anyone is a trap because it holds you back from experiencing people who really care about you beyond how you present yourself to the world. So, all this to say that my struggle was not just to keep my chastity, right? But in that same breath, I wrestled with who I was in the grand scheme of things with my sexuality. So to an extent, I want to encourage somebody to be graceful towards themselves, to gently hold your story, to gently sit with the parts of you that you like and the parts of you that you don't really like. The parts of you that look good to people and are easily explainable. And the parts of you that you might not always know how to present, but to sit gently with those and take them as yours. Because when you don't own them, when you try to push it away as if it's something that is not real to you, you rob yourself of belonging to yourself fully. And this is still the gift that I've got out of this whole journey, being able to belong to myself entirely, because I can sit with all these different facets, all these different experiences. And I'm not choosing which part of me to carry. I'm choosing all of it because it's still all of me. At some point, I felt really broken. I felt unworthy of love from myself, unworthy of love from God. And I felt like I was a fraud for not being able to own all these parts of me, right? First, in some spaces, I would not proudly, or maybe proudly is the wrong word, but I would not boldly admit to being a virgin because it did not suit the mood or the conversation. And then at some point, it became a matter of, are you straight? And you just don't know what to say about that. And it left me feeling jaded. It left me feeling like I didn't know where I stood. And it took a lot of work, so much that I didn't feel feminine enough. I didn't feel like I was girl enough or woman enough, because none of these things were clear cut for me. I didn't really fit in one box properly, right? And it happens that when you can't figure out where you fit, you really feel left out. You really feel like the standards of this world are too high for you to maintain. But guess what? You don't have to subscribe to the standards of this world, because there's no clear cut for any one of us. We are different. We are unique. We are going through life uniquely on purpose, right? The choice to be defined one way can confine you, can limit how you love yourself too. It can limit what you feel is accessible to you as well, right? And I had to commit to walking in wholeness, not only in my sexuality, but walking in wholeness in my entire identity as a woman, as a child of God, and a virgin. I had to find a place where it all came together, and I didn't have to choose a specific part to present to people at a point, because all of it is me all of it is true about who I am, right? It's last year that I really came home to myself in a way that has led us to this point, that has led us to this space I've created. I was going through Bible college, and one of the leaders there met one of the people I know, and his name is Shalom. I had never taken it to heart or to mind so much that the word shalom meant peace or anything beyond that. It was just, the peace of God, great. But then she greets him, and then she says, "Do you know what your name means?" It means that nothing is broken, nothing is lacking, all is in its place and well taken care of. And it struck something in me so deeply. I think I was just in a position where I was ready to shift my life in the direction that it has now came to. That when she said that, it released a curiosity in me that led to me just obsessing over this word. I went and made t-shirts. I was writing it all over and everywhere that nothing is missing, nothing is lacking, all is in its place and well taken care of. And I took it for myself. It felt like God himself was saying this to me, like, listen, more blessing. Where you're concerned, nothing is missing, nothing is lacking, all is in its place and well taken care of. It was I wouldn't even say the glue, but I'll say it has become the anchor to my identity at this point in everything. So much that wherever I find myself, it's not only in my sexuality that I feel like I'm complete, but it's in my job, it's in my family, my friendships. I know that nothing is missing, nothing is lacking. All is in its place and well taken care of. And what that means for me is that sex is not the end goal for me, or virginity is not a waiting room for marriage for me. It's not a placeholder for purpose. It doesn't mean that I'm missing something at this point in my life. It doesn't mean that my identity is dented somewhere. It doesn't mean that I have something to make up for because I'm not having sex at this point in my life. Everything is in its place and well taken care of, right? And I want to speak to somebody who feels like they are missing out in life simply because they're not having sex. That's not true. That's definitely a lie that society has sold us. It's a lie that culture has promoted, because you can still live your life fully. You can still enjoy friendships, people, things you're passionate about outside of being sexually active. And I think it's important that somebody knows that. And it has been important for me to know that this is not the ultimate fulfillment in life. Because when it's talked about, sometimes you're told you haven't lived yet. You don't know nothing, you know. You don't know what's out here, but only in reference to being sexually active. So I want you to sit in that and take it from me. You can steal my lines. In fact, we are sharing because you're here. Let's share it. Affirm yourself in the truth that there's nothing missing, there's nothing broken. There's nothing lacking in your life. All is in its place and well taken care of, particularly if you are in Christ. If you have given your life to Jesus and He is the anchor of your life, that's the truth that you have to live by. So at this point in my life, my chastity is not for anybody else other than myself. At this point, it's not because I'm scared that my mother is going to be disappointed in me. It's not because I'm scared of getting a baby. It's because this is where I want to be. I choose this for myself. I want to walk this journey with God. And however it's going to look like going forward, I am not doing it because of how I was raised or what culture thinks is right for a 27-year-old going on 28. I'm doing it because it's a life I want for myself. And when I marry somebody, it's not about them either. It is a reward that they will get. They will get to enjoy the fruit of it. But it's not because I want to get a good husband that I'm a virgin. It's not because I want to make my husband happy. He will be, I hope. But that's not the focus of this. This is a choice I'm making because I now love myself, respect myself, understand myself better. And I know that my value is not in the sexual price, if that's even a phrase, that I bring to the table. My value is in who I am and who God says I am. And He calls me whole. He calls me worthy. He sees me as complete. And I feel like that carries me through anything that life might throw at me at this point. It's not so much about preserving an image to anybody. It's just really who More Blessing is. And this is the way she has chosen to live her life. And that's okay. So one thing I do, generally, I love words. I love creating beautiful spaces through words too. And affirmations are a big thing for me. I wrote up a few things that I want to affirm for myself, but I'd be happy if you take these for yourselves too, or somebody that comes to mind as you watch this. All right, are you ready? There's 4 of them, okay? The first one is, I am whole in Christ. What this means for me is that there's nothing else that I need except my relationship with God to know that I am complete and my life is beautiful and my life is what it's supposed to be because I am in Christ. As I've been walking in my virginity, I also had to affirm myself and speak to myself about what I have chosen so that I remember why I'm doing this. And I enjoy the space that I've created for myself too. So I wrote here and say, I guard my purity, not just from the world, but for Christ. For the story God is writing with me, I walk with hope because I know who holds my heart and He is faithful. It's not only for protection against what I perceive to be potentially harmful for me in the sexual space, but I do it because I trust the God who holds my heart. I do it because I trust the God who is writing my story. I am not led by appetite or impulse. I'm led by the yes I said to the God who said yes to me first. That's what it is. Period. Lastly, I'm guarded by the peace of God. I don't always have it together, but He holds everything together in me. That just lifts the responsibility that we sometimes put on ourselves to act right, to think right, to behave right, but to trust that even when I don't have it within myself, He is consistently holding me together. And yeah, if you are walking the same journey, if you know somebody who is walking the same journey, the encouragement is for them to hold their story with gentleness. The encouragement is for a person to be joyfully who they believe they are meant to be and trust that it's enough. You don't have to do what you feel the society and the community around you is asking of you. You simply have to stay true to yourself. Thank you for spending time with me. If you related to any of this, please let me know in the comments. Please like and share with the people you think it's relevant to. And also come back, and revisit this. So if you will, subscribe to the channel and stay with me for anything that comes next out of this. I have had the ultimate blast. I love because at the core of it, the nerves were nerving, right? But I'm so glad that I shared this bit of my life with you with the hopes that it helps you sit in your identity or even desire to discover what your identity is in God and to sift it from everything that you are presented with in life and really just pursue that person that you know in your knower you are meant to become. I am more blessing, and this is my story. Like I said earlier, it's messy, it's holy, and it's mine. You are welcome to follow me on my socials, and let's continue talking about things that we are generally scared to talk about, and hopefully encourage each other to walk our journeys as true to ourselves as possible. Thank you so much for tuning in.